on Facebook. Now, live on YouTube, live on Facebook,
live on both.
Comment, like, share, subscribe. Everybody coming in.
You got my articles that I sent?
Comment, I got that. On you.
Shalom, DC, with Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, started 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Under Commanding General YAHANNA. Since 1969, we've been teaching the truth of the Bible, that the so-called Blacks, Hispanic, and Native American Indians are the true Jews, and we do not know that because we've been learning from our oppressor, and that same oppressor is the Bible, is the devil that the very Bible speaks of.
That's right.
Tonight, we're going to get into something. Well, first of all, if anybody have any questions, type them in the chat. We can get some of the questions answered lickety split, quick, fast, and in a hurry, and in a reasonable fashion before we get into my topic. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, just type it in the chat room and we can address it as soon as they come in. Tonight, we're going to get into the riots in Memphis, Tennessee, right after the Civil War, during the time of Reconstruction. During this time, this time in American history, there's been a lot of racial tension that's been boiling over, especially in the Confederate States that had lost the Civil War. Now, a lot of that has to do with the very people that they subjected to as cattle, as not human, as being property, pieces of property. At one time, they now had to, in some cases, obey what these freedmen were telling them. They had to give them certain rights. They had to give them certain respect. Whereas once upon a time when they were slaves, probably just months prior to a lot of this tensions and riots were breaking out, these freedmen were slaves. They were 3/5 of a human being. They had no rights. Their owners or any white man could do just about anything they wanted to do to them, with little to no penalty at all.
Right.
So once the Civil War ended, and once the Civil War ended, and the freed slaves were getting certain rights, the people who had them in slavery were up in arms. They didn't like it. They didn't like it. And even the people who weren't slave masters or overseers, because at this time during Tennessee's history, they imported a lot of European immigrants, mainly Irish immigrants, to the tune of about 30 to 40,000 every year, from right after the Civil War up until the early 1900s. They were importing a lot of European people to kind of augment the work, the idea of it, and this has happened throughout the Americas, both North, South, and Central America, and even in the Caribbean islands. What they did was, after slavery, they hated the slaves so much, even though they were doing the work, the job at hand, both unskilled and skilled work. They were doing the work while they were in slavery. Once slavery was over, they now had to pay people to do this type of work. And because we were considered chattel, we were considered human beings in any part of the world when we were slaves. Now that we were freed, they still had us in this mentality of chattel. We were just still property to many people throughout the world, not just in this hemisphere, because we were sent over to the old world as well, to be slaves over there as well. So this is one of the many tactics that the Western Hemisphere, I would say, adopted. And after slavery, they just imported tons of immigrants from throughout the world, throughout Asia, throughout Europe. And what they did was they hired those people, and they would rather pay those people than to pay the very people that they had in slavery. Even though for one reason or another, slavery was abolished, but whether it's by force, like it was in the Isle of Haiti, or by civil unrest, like it happened here in the U.S., or some people just all right, well, we think this is a wrong thing, and basically the world came down on them, and they done away with slavery. But their idea or their thought of giving a slave, a former slave, any type of power, whether it be political or economic power, was very obtrusive to the former slave masters and overseers. So what they did was they imported a lot of poor whites, poor Asians, and they imported them, and they paid them what they should have paid the former slaves, and they gave them jobs,
Right.
and basically subjected the former slaves to the utmost atrocities. In some cases even worse than what was going on during slavery,
Right.
and they were getting away with it, day after day, month after month, and even to this day, they have not had to answer to the world for the crimes that they've committed. That's okay. The reason why I say that's okay is because the Most High's memory is so long. He knows everything, and he remembers everything. And just because we don't see what their punishment may have been or will be, doesn't mean that the Most High has forgotten about, what has happened to his people.
Right.
Scripture says, you offend any of the least, you offend him. So, just slavery in general offended the Most High. You talk to us any kind of way. We go into your stores, you follow us around. That's offending us. You offending us. You offending the Most High. Any little thing that you think is okay. The last week, this past Sabbath, Baqashyah brought out something that was so heavy. How they look at us. They look at us like like nothing. They so brave and bolden to attack us, both verbally and physically, and then just turn it back like ain't nothing gonna happen. And that's how comfortable they have gotten, to whereas anybody who would attack anybody else, they would automatically just be on guard, just ready for a retaliation. But not our oppressor. They trample over us and just keep going like it's nothing, like nothing is going to happen.
Right.
But the Most High sees it, He remembers it, and it's going to be a day of reckoning. And that day, I pray, is coming soon.
That's right.
So we're going to get into this into this topic real quick. Do you have anything on the YouTube or Facebook? Any questions or comments or concerns before I get into this?
Lord.
All right. So what I need you to do is get me the Memphis riots in the Wikipedia. Give me that real quick.
Okay.
All right. Whenever you're ready.
Memphis Riots of 1866.
All right. So this is title of it's called the Memphis Riots of 1866. It's really not a riot. It's a massacre, and we brought out what exactly a massacre actually means. It means a slaughter of helpless people who cannot or will not defend themselves. I know that there was like back in the 60s, there was like a rash of monks that protesting the war in Vietnam that would actually harm themselves, to bring some light to the war in Vietnam. And they would do these crazy things, harming themselves on national TV so that they can bring attention to their cause. That's kind of like I would say that even more so because we actually love this stinking country, and every nation that comes to this country leaps off the backs of the indigenous peoples of here and the slaves that were brought over here from the west coast of Africa. They use us as a platform to climb to greater and greater heights because they couldn't do it back in their original country, their home country. But when they come here, they use us to spring up into higher standings, and then look at us like we're the scum of the earth. When we are the ones that actually make this world, not just this nation, we make this world run. We stop doing whatever we doing. This nation stops, and two, the world will stop going the way it's been going the past umpteen 2-3 centuries. If it hasn't been for the Lord's chosen people, this world will stop. Keep going.
Go. The Memphis Massacre of 1866 was a series of violent events that occurred from May 1st to the 3rd of 1866.
So this is a series of events that happened, not just one day, but it happened over the course of several days. And when these riots happen, like now in modern times, there's very few riot level events that happen more than a day. There's very few instances where it actually it happens, goes up to a boiling point and boils over, and then it's being quailed really fast, really soon to lessen. Mostly, it's not to protect human life. It's mostly to lessen the damage, that these rich businessmen and women have in their that they have interest in where the disturbance is caused. So there's a series of events that happen over 3 days. Of course, 3 days. No.
Still on?
Nah, still, yeah. I'm gonna keep going. Nah, still going. But while you try and handle that, I'm gonna keep going. This happened in Memphis, Tennessee. The racial violence was ignited by political, social, and racial tensions following this American Civil War in the early stages of Reconstruction. Now, a lot of this happened because of Reconstruction. This happened right after the American Civil War, and like I said, the people who were slaves at one point in time fought against the very people that had us in slavery, and the remnant of that army, was basically mad. One, that they lost, and two, what Reconstruction is they were enforcing a power shift, so to speak. So Reconstruction was they were restructuring the organization of power, how the way the political landscape was shaped. They were given more power to the people of the land, and at that time there were more former slaves in some of these counties than there were white men. So with that, a lot of black people, freedmen, were actually voting for people that look like them, who would help them out, and they were getting elected and they were winning elections. They were given power during this time of Reconstruction. The only way that they could have obtained that sort of power was with a military behind them. And at that time, during Reconstruction, it was those policies was enforced by the winning army, which was the Union Army at that time, and they were deployed out to many different places throughout the South. Sort of like what's going on right now throughout the world when America has different bases throughout the world, sort of peacekeeping things into shaping things in the way they want it shaped. So they have bases throughout the world in Germany, and Italy and Spain and the UK, Japan, all over Asia, right next to Korea, where they're still beefing. Technically, right now, the Korean War is still going. There has not been a formal end of that war. So at any point in time, if they want to, they could just start, shooting at each other, and the war, the war is still on, and that's been going on for what, 60 years? 60 years. So they say, the war in Afghanistan or the Middle East, Afghanistan and Iraq has been going on. This Korean War has still been going on. It's still going on right now to this day. But during this time of Reconstruction, Israel was actually given power to affect change, and that did not sit well with their former slave masters and the former, Confederate soldiers. That did not sit well at all, not at all. And like I said, at the time, instead of them actually paying, former slaves to do the same work that they were doing as they were slaves, that was a repugnant idea to these slave masters, former slave masters. So they imported a bunch of immigrants to do that job. And because we were the ones that were actually doing it, it was, and that's the hypocrisy of what's going on. We did not own, these plantations. We did not own these warehouses, this land where the jobs were being had, right? So if we did not own it, who did own it? It was the former slave masters, right? So they're the ones that owned it. They're the ones that did the hiring. So if anything, why would the rioters want to kill the workers? Why can't they? Why wouldn't they go to the people that actually hired them? Because it's not like we were there and we owned all the businesses and we hired only us. We didn't do that. We didn't have the opportunity to do that. Why? Because it was 1 year out of the not even a whole year. It was 1 year out of the Civil War, the end of the Civil War, and there were still pockets of resistance at this time that didn't want to secede to basically doing what Trump was doing. I didn't win yet. Oh, you didn't win yet. I still want to recount. They still wanted to beef. They still wanted to fight. They still wanted to go back to be back in the old way of doing things when there was a new way of doing things, and that new way is similar to the old way. It's just more sly. Right. They're still treating us like trash. They're still killing us. They're still subjecting us to all manner of evil. They're still doing that, but it was just a new way of doing it, and they just refused to do that. All right, Barack. You know where I left off? After the American Civil War. Okay. In the first paragraph.
In the early stages of Reconstruction, after a shooting altercation between white policemen and black veterans recently mustered out of the Union Army, mobs of white residents and policemen rampaged through black neighborhoods and the houses of freedmen, attacking and killing black soldiers and civilians and committing many acts of robbery and arson.
So what happened was there was a shooting between a black veteran who fought for his freedom and two white policemen. Like I said, these people really still see you as, cattle. They see you as property. So when you have your union uniform on, a lot of times, coming out of the war, even before the war, coming out of the war, we had nothing. We had tattered rags. We were slaves. They didn't feed. They didn't clothe us well. They didn't clothe us well at all. Once we got in the war, we got uniforms. Some of us did, but once we got the uniforms, we were proud to display that uniform. So we were walking around, with our uniforms on, and that, like I said, that did not sit well with the white Confederates at that time or any time. They just lost the war, and you're up here in their face, flaunting, so to speak, their loss in their face. They don't really care for that too much. So just like they do with us now, it was two policemen that accosted these black veterans, and because these freedmen had seen war, like I was bringing out before, times of war. Before war, we might think we can do this. We might think we can do that. During wartime, it's that thought process is put into play. It's put into action. You're going to be put into positions where you may have to take somebody's life in order to save your life or the life of your brother right beside you. Times of peace, you may contemplate that. You may train on that. You may think about that a little bit or a lot. But during actual wartime, a lot of that stuff is put into action. And these men, that thought process was actually, their mettle was tested, so to speak. So once they got through, a lot of that stuff where they either had to kill or be killed or have to bury their friends, a lot of times during these times, we've seen a lot of death. One, on the battlefield, like actually, fighting. And two, a lot of times we had to do the burial detail. We had to do the grunt work, the dead soldiers, the dead and the dying soldiers. We had to take them from the battlefield. So we've seen a lot of death. When you see death and destruction, on a continuous basis, that changes your psyche. Your outlook towards life different. It alters. You don't see life and death as you once have seen it before. And once these men came home after seeing a bloody war, and even to this day, the American Civil War has been the bloodiest war in all of America's history. The Civil War has been the most bloodiest and most gruesomest war that has caused the most casualties of all the other wars that America has fought combined. This one single war. This is how bloody and gruesome it is. So when these black veterans came home and someone is accosting them, they've seen death. They stared death in the face. They've been in life or death situations more than once. So when they came home after experiencing things like that on a constant and continuous basis, and now they are told that they're free, they can do as they please. Man was probably just walking down the street minding his business when two policemen came up and accosted them, just like what black men do today. We're walking down the street in our car, shopping, doing anything, and we're accosted by police or by Karens, which is worse than police, because they're the ones that get the alert the police, hey, we're doing something wrong, when there is no wrongdoing whatsoever. So they got accosted by the police. They weren't having it this time. They weren't having it. It's easier if you had pulled that trigger either in anger or in war, or if you had ever had to pull that trigger to save your life or the life of another, once it is easier to do it a second time or a third time. Who knows how many times this black veteran had to have done that? Because they're coming from a time where they can just string you up and nobody asks any questions, and they're still in that time. But now these men have something called, one, they have dignity. They know who they are as far as they believe that they're men and they should be treated as men, right, not as chattel. And they're not gonna take no quote unquote lip from a losing party. So 2 white officers were killed during this altercation. And because of that, there was a mob that went into every basic black neighborhood and houses that freedmen lived, and they killed and they raped and they murdered whole neighborhoods. Everywhere they went, and this was in Memphis. This is a city. It's not just some little town, not just some little village, one little neighborhood in a town or a city. This is happening throughout the whole city. This spread, throughout like wildfire. And it's crazy because, information nowadays, things tend to go viral if the content is good. And when I say good, I don't mean like, good in a good manner, because good news doesn't travel. Bad news travels even faster. So like in nowadays, you can do something now, and by the time you get to where you're going, it could have already spread, umpteen times. Everybody where you're going may know what is happening. Sort of like Friday, how you get fired on your day off.
Good night.
You know what I'm saying? He just woke up and the whole neighborhood knows about it.
Right.
Stuff like that. Bad news travels fast. This was some bad news during the Civil War, where there was no telephones during that time. There was no internet. There was no email. There was no FaceTime. So the word traveled throughout the whole city, and they destroyed every black man, woman they could find. And that's how basically the riots started. Get me, go down to the second paragraph.
Starting at
federal troops.
Okay, God. Federal troops were sent to quell the violence, and peace was restored on the third day. A subsequent report by a joint congressional committee detailed the carnage.
So it took a congressional committee to find out what in the world went on. Federal troops, like I said, during then this is crazy right now, because this is during the time of Reconstruction. I just explained to you what Reconstruction meant. It meant they were reconstructing the power. They were shifting the way power was being dealt out. And the only way it could have been, reconstructed properly was with the backing of the Union Army. And I said this was Union armies were posted throughout, the nation, particularly in formerly Confederate states.
Right.
So how in the world, if they were posted in these Confederate states, how in the world could a riot go on for 3 days and cause so much damage and killing and looting and all this stuff? How could that have happened when federal troops were supposed to have been stationed throughout the country, especially in Confederate states? I don't know. I don't understand how that could have happened. There's a reason why that happened. We're going to get into that here pretty soon. So it took a congressional committee to detail the carnage, and this is what came of that congressional committee.
With blacks suffering most of the injuries and deaths by far, 46 black and 2 white people were killed. So 2
white people were killed and 46 black people were killed. Do you know who the 2 white people that were killed? It was the 2 police officers that were killed at the start of the altercation.
Okay.
So Just like the scripture says, Esau is blessed with the sword.
Right.
Even though we learned how to fight. We weren't afraid to fight from the Civil War. We weren't afraid to stand up for ourselves. Right after that happened, right after that incident happened, where the 2 white police officers were killed, they went and killed 46 of us. 46 so-called black people were murdered. And that's what went on. Let me read on a little bit more. 75 black people were injured. Out of the 46, it was 46 black people that were killed. 75 black people were injured, and over 100 black persons robbed. So how in the world, they're quote unquote fight for justice because 2 of their comrades were killed? I understand you want some get back, but I thought it was supposed to be a land of law and order. Things were supposed to be done properly. Decency. Come on, bro. I thought this was supposed to be that land where savagery is non-existent. Right. This right here is savage, yo.
Right.
This is street justice, mob justice.
Right.
Where you don't know what happened. What did the other 46? If one man killed those 2 men, or 2 men killed those 2 men, what did the 44 other people have to do with that killing?
Right.
I don't understand.
Squad.
Help me understand this. Why, if someone, and the congressional committee described what happened, it was one person, one black veteran that killed those 2 cops. Why did 45 other people have to die? Why did 75 other people have to get injured? And when they say injury, during this mob justice, they were trying to kill everybody. They weren't just trying to beat them up. They weren't just trying to, teach them a lesson. They were trying to kill people. That was their intent. They wanted to end people's life, just wipe them off the face of the earth. That's what their intent was. So why is it, decent to just, go on a wild rampage and 1, kill people, 2, rob them? What does that have to do with, your 2 men being killed? I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense to me. Over 100 black persons robbed, 5 black women raped. What do you have to do with raping, our women? What? 2 men were killed. Why do you have to rape our women? Those women had nothing to do with the killing. Had nothing to do with it. And what in these people, think that it's okay to just, violently and savagely, subjugate our women like this? What kind of a and they call our brothers the Native Indians savages.
Right.
That was one of the more vile names that they gave our brothers.
Right.
Our brothers and savages. And so they raped 5 women, and 91 homes, 4 churches, and 8 schools. Every black church and school. So we had 4 churches and 8 schools. All of them throughout the whole city of Memphis were burned to the ground. Our community that we had 1 year out of slavery. Get that, 1 year out of slavery, we built 4 churches, which we shouldn't, them things should be burned down. But we had 8 schools. Our place of worship and our place of learning, they burned them down. Now, why would you do that? One, they didn't want to give us hope, even though that hope that we were giving ourselves was white supremacy. They burned that down, and then they burned down the way for us to better ourselves. 1 year out of slavery, we built 8 schools in 1 city. Think of that. That was our priority, to educate ourselves, so to lift our community up.
Right.
and they burned them down. And this is the people who are supposed to be in charge of us. They're supposed to, we're supposed to take their lead in doing, nonsense like this. Keep going. You know where I left off at?
God. 75 black,
yeah,
46 black and 2 white people were killed. 75 black people injured. Over 100 black persons robbed. 5 black women raped in 91 homes. 4 churches, 8 schools burned in the black community. Modern estimates place property losses at over 100,000 suffered. Modern estimates place property losses at over $100,000 suffered mostly by black people. Many black people fled the city permanently. By 1870, the population had fallen by 1/4 compared to 1865.
25% of us, left and never came back from that city. In just 5 years, 25% left. I don't blame them. All because we were working. And this is what the tensions of this riot had been about. It was mainly about jobs and whatnot. Get me the next article, Baqashyah.
God, it's loaded.
No sweat. And this, so I'm about to get into exactly why with this article. It's going to go over a little bit of the same information, but it's going to focus more on different parts of what happened. And we're going to bring out exactly why, those men were accosted in the first place, and had everything to do with our worth. They seen too much greatness in us. And how in the world can we, outperform, purebred white folk when we're just coming out of slavery? How can that be? How can that? At one year ago, I was giving these, these people orders, and now I have to move along because they say so. Nah, we're gonna burn your place down, and we're gonna set examples of anybody who dare try and come up against us in any way, shape, or form. You got that?
God, the Tennessee Encyclopedia, Memphis Race Riot of 1866. On May 1st through the 2nd of 1866, Memphis suffered its worst race riot in history. Some 46 African Americans and 2 whites died during the riot.
Again, look at that. 2 white people died. And because of those 2 white people, 46 of us had to die, and the countless number of others had to pay for those 2 deaths. Keep going.
A joint congressional committee reported 75 persons injured, 100 persons robbed, 5 women raped, 91 homes burned, 4 churches and 8 schools burned and destroyed, and $17,000 in federal property destroyed.
That was the real damage, in order for them to actually come out and try and stop this. It was because of their property was damaged. They didn't give a damn about us. It took 2-3 days for them to actually come out, even though they were posted out there. And we're about to read it. Even though they were posted out there, they did nothing. Keep going. Yeah.
Right. It might just be me, but reading the article, when I read the first part where it says some 46 African Americans and 2 whites died during the riot, you had said that because of them 2 white people, 46 of our blood was shed. And when you continue to read the next tragedies that happened during this event, it goes away from labeling who this happened to and making it more of a all lives matter type of thing, and not saying, who this was. Because the last article said that it was black women that got raped. The last article said it was black churches and black this and black that and black that was destroyed. This one is just saying persons. So it's leaving it at a vague sense to say it doesn't matter who it was that it happened to, but it happened. It's taking away the focus on that destruction was targeted towards us. So now it's hard to say with this article, it's hard for a reader or audience to say that this was something that was against black people, or that it was targeted at black people, because it levels it out. Some of us died, 2 of them died. This amount of things happened to persons, not directed at 46 of our blood was shed, our schools or whatever, our churches and stuff like that was knocked down, our woman was raped. And they, did not mention the racial standpoint of who it is, race-based, on this article, to put it more so on a bias or direct way of it. It's a terrible event, instead of it's a terrible event that happened to black people.
Listen, that right there is so heavy. I didn't even realize that until you brought that up. The reason being is because I read a bunch of different articles, and I know who was destroyed. And then when you said that, I'm looking at it, and you damn right. It just says 46 black people died and 2 white people died, were killed during the riots. And a riot meaning it is unorganized and chaotic, which this was not unorganized and chaotic.
Right.
This was very targeted and very specific.
Right.
And this article, you're absolutely 100% right. It just says 100 persons robbed. We were robbed.
Right.
5 women raped. Our women were raped.
Right.
91 houses were burned. Our houses were burned. And this is 1 year after slavery.
Right.
And we had houses.
Right.
You see that?
Right.
191 homes were burned. That was our homes. 4 churches and 8 schools burned and destroyed. Those are our churches. Those are our schools.
Right.
This article does not tell us exactly what's going on.
Right.
And this is coming from the Tennessee Encyclopedia.net. So it's written by them. It's kind of sort of like, like we hear about these instances where you see a child's textbook, history book, or something like that, social studies book, and it shows black people immigrated to the Americas from the west coast of Africa.
Right.
They ain't goddamn immigrate. They were drugged and brought over here in chains.
Right.
We didn't immigrate. We didn't choose to come here.
Right.
We were brought here in slavery.
Right.
This was not a choice by us. This was a choice by different nations to bring us here.
Right.
And this article highlights that intimate, that sentiment.
Right.
They didn't give no cause to who was destroyed during this riot.
Right.
And like I said, riots are usually chaotic things. Chaos just goes out everywhere. This is not chaos.
Right.
This is not chaos. This is organized. That not only that, they came back for more. This was days happening over a course of 2 or 3 days that this stuff happened.
Right.
2 of their nation died, and for that, our communities have to be destroyed.
Right.
How many lives, were destroyed for this? And I'm not just talking about the 46 people that were killed. I'm talking about, the trauma that was caused by the rapes and by the robberies, the trauma that your homes and your businesses and your churches and your schools that you built with your hand, because Lord knows, we're in the South, in the Confederate States. Lord knows that there was no real help from anybody that did not look like us.
Right.
So we built those places with our hands, and to see something that we built, a promising future for us and our kids being burnt down, that has to do something to us. That's to do something to us. That that not only angers you, but man, it's like, what can we do? Like, what can we do? We're trying to do good according to their law, and they kill us for it. They rape us for it. They rob us for it. They call us lazy, but we're the ones that built the very things that they're burning down.
Right.
I don't understand that.
Right.
I don't understand that. This is crazy. This is crazy. So just like the brother brought out, this article does not really show who was destroyed.
Right.
And we're gonna get a little more of this article. It's it's just gonna piss me off just a little bit more. Keep going, and it should. And you hearing this story should bring something out in you. It should tell you who your enemy is, because the same thing that they're doing back then, they're doing right now. Right. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed.
So, like, if I may add to that, right, what you said is so heavy. It's like a animal dying consistently on the level of an endangered species, but the media says animals are dying instead of the so-called whatever animal is dying out like an endangered species or is becoming an endangered species. It takes off the focus or the significance of this. So now a news article says, black African male shot this and that, instead of saying another one is shot and died in some killing, whatever the case may be. It's not putting emphasis. It's just, another killing. White people get shot too. This person gets shot too, and it's taking away the focus that it's black people that this happened to.
Right. You're exactly right. This is exactly what's happening to us, and this thing that's happening to us now has been happening to us ever since they brought us over, or ever since the European man came to this side of the world. And the reason being is because us as a people turned our back on the Most High, our protection, our buckler, our shield.
Right.
Who was supposed to be our shield, but since we turned our back to him, he turned our back to us, and he let all these things happen because we would not listen to him. And that's scripture. Keep going real quick.
Come. Hundreds of blacks were jailed, and almost all other freedmen fled town until the disturbance ended. They
got the hell out of Dodge. They got out of Dodge. Like it said in the article before, 25% of them never came back. Never came back. Keep going.
Come. For 2 days, white mobs, which included policemen, firemen.
What?
For 2 days, white mob, which included policemen.
Who?
Policemen.
Who?
Policemen.
Policemen. They're supposed to be the ones that protect and serve. Keep going.
Firemen.
They're the ones, right? Even now, they're saying, don't call if you need some help. Don't call, call the police. They say call the firemen. Right. Call a fireman, because they think that firemen would actually help them. Well, not in this case, and it's never really been that case before. Keep going.
God. And some businessmen attacked the freedmen's camps and neighborhoods.
And so policemen, firemen, government officials, these are people that work for the state. These are people that are supposed, in times of great harm and danger, you're supposed to call on them to help you. These are the same people that feed you and clothe you. These businessmen are supposed to help you and all that stuff.
Go ahead.
And for that, these are the ones that killed us.
Right.
These are the ones that did harm to us for days on end. Keep going.
The riot started after an alarm went out that African American soldiers from Fort Pickering on the south boundary of downtown Memphis had killed several policemen who tried to arrest a black soldier. In response to the reports, Union General George Stoneman.
Hold on. He said Union General, the very veterans that from the war, the army that they were fighting, that they were just released from, that Union General did something very specific. He could have stopped this tragedy, this massacre, and is dead in his tracks. Why? Because they were posted in these cities, in these locations, these different locations. They were posted there. He could have stopped it at any point in time. But read what he did.
Union General George Stoneman disarmed.
He what?
Disarmed.
Who did he disarm?
The soldiers and locked them in the barracks.
He disarmed so as soon as he heard what happened, he took their weapons and ordered them to stay on base. They could not come out. When black people were getting killed, raped, robbed, and their houses and businesses and schools and churches were being burned down, the help that was ordered to be sent there to stop stuff like this from happening, they were disarmed and told to stand stand down and stand by. Does that sound familiar? That's what the former president said. Well, actually, he's still technically president for another couple weeks.
Right.
But he told people that were meant to restore order. This general, he told people to stand down and stand by. Stand by for what? They're supposed to be called into action just for incidences like this. This is exactly what they're supposed to be called into action for. To stop the killing, to bring real, true justice to the land. If a black veteran, if anybody killed those policemen, they were supposed to be tried. They were supposed to be arrested, tried, and if convicted, they were supposed to be punished according to the law. None of that happened. And the reason none of that happened, one of the reasons why, is because this general who was given charge of for the protection of these freedmen who served in his army, they were told to stand down and stand by. So we were killed needlessly, senselessly, when help was right around the corner. Somebody who had the power and could have helped us did not. Keep going.
God. Leaving nearby freedmen settlements vulnerable to the white mobs that soon attacked women, children, and defenseless men, as well as the northern missionaries who served as ministers and teachers for the freedmen.
So they had not only killed, the men who was accused of killing these two white officers. They killed the women. They killed the children. And they killed other white people who were trying to help the freedmen in the South. This is the people that rule over us, and the man that was given charge over a force that was supposed to quell this exact atrocity told his men to stand down and stand by. Stand by for what? Stand by for what?
Right.
This is crazy. This is crazy. This is infuriating, especially when people say, well, there needs to be law, there needs to be order, but if there's no dignity, no honor in the man who's leading that force, there will never be any justice. And this is the same reason why the Most High told us we need to turn to ourselves. We need to look to ourselves to build up brotherhood. Once we build up brotherhood, we can then be a nation under Christ. Christ is our leader. He will be our avenger. He will avenge all of these atrocities that has happened to us and all the atrocities that will happen to us until Christ comes back. Most High is keeping a record of everything that everybody says and does to us. And Christ will exact that revenge on when he comes back.
That's right.
But he can't come back until we turn back to the Most High. If any of us is tired of any of this, of any of these atrocities, oppression that's going on with your people, if you're really truly upset, disturbed, tired of what's going on, I'm telling you, the only way to have it stopped is if you turn back to the Most High. If you tired of getting beat up over the head or being the first fired and the last hired, having your woman whore on you and think that it's okay, or having the brothers pimping out, being whoremongers, drug dealers in our neighborhoods, child molesters, all these atrocities, all these terrible things that are happening to us. If you're tired of that, turn back to the Most High. That's all we have to do. Put down the cigarettes, put down the weed, put down the drugs. Stop selling to your people. Be an honorable man to your woman, not somebody else's woman. Women, stay with your man. Take that man off of child support. Work with him. He has enough to bear in this kingdom. He doesn't need another woman breathing down his neck for his life. We need to be brothers to our brothers and sisters to our sisters.
Right.
We need to follow the commandments of the Most High. We need to gather ourselves together. That's what the scripture says. Gather ourselves together.
That's right.
Why? Because no one wants this. There's a comedian out there that had a joke that was like, everybody wants to be a nigga until it's time to be a nigga. You know what I'm saying? That you don't know how it is to be a black man or woman, or Hispanic man or woman, Native American man or woman. Man, our Native American brothers and sisters are totally destroyed. 86% unemployment rate, and just as high alcohol and drug abuse rate on reservations. And the reason for that is in part is our fault, but our oppressor has put so much on us that we only see that as a way out, as an alternative to get through a day, 24 hours. If we turn back to the Most High, enough of us. We don't even need a lot. It doesn't say the whole nation. Honestly, it doesn't even say the whole nation. We just need a few. Ain't that what the oppressor says? A few good men. We just need Most High. Just wants a few good men in order to send Christ back. Christ is chomping at the bits. He's not even drinking wine until he comes back and avenges us. That's something else. That's a brother right there. He's chomping at the bits. All we got to do is obey the Most High. Put down shut ourselves of this world and put on his garments. Put on his laws, statutes, and commandments, his ideology. And then we can be cleaned up. Stuff like this will never happen again. Stuff like this will never happen again. Where are we?
Leaving nearby freedmen settlements vulnerable to the white mobs that soon attacked women, children, and defenseless men, as well as the northern missionaries who served as ministers and teachers for the freedmen. The Memphis riots reflected the anger and frustration felt by many white citizens and partially former Confederates who had suffered the agony of a bitter defeat at the hands of a black and white Union army.
So they were mad that they lost. Keep going.
Irish immigrants who had sided with the Confederacy especially hated the freedmen who dominated the skilled and unskilled jobs that had previously served as a mechanism for upward mobility in the Irish community.
So right here, the immigrants were they chose the wrong side. They chose the wrong dog and a horse, and they thought that that their side would win. Once they lost, they took it out on us. Like I said, we did not have the ownership of these jobs. We were just working as slaves, doing both the skilled work and the unskilled work. Now, how in the world could they call us, lazy, good for nothing, worthless? We're dumb. We can't do anything. When there's a difference between skilled and unskilled. Unskilled is basically, something that anybody can do. You can train a monkey to do, a menial task, just picking weeds or something, or chopping a tree down. There's really no real skill, or picking cotton, cutting sugarcane. There's no real skill in that. The skill that they're talking about, is city planning, developing, something that involves architecture and mathematics. We had a great knowledge, a great understanding of that, even though we were slaves, when we were considered not human. And that right there is a testament of the quality of people who we are. Like I said, we're the ones that make this country run. We did it back then. We're still doing it right now. These Irish immigrants hated that we dominated this skilled and unskilled labor. If you could get me Exodus 36 and 1. And we're going to get that real quick, just to prove to you that we weren't just, a pretty face.
36 and 1?
Exodus 36 and 1.
Okay. The book of Exodus, chapter 36, verse 1. Then wrought Bezalel and Alahab, and every wise hearted man, in whom the Lord put wisdom and understanding.
And the Lord put what?
Wisdom and understanding.
So the Most High is the one that put wisdom and understanding in not only these two brothers, but it said every
wise-hearted man.
Every wise-hearted man. Keep going.
In whom the Lord put wisdom and understanding to know how to work all manner of work for the service of the sanctuary.
To know how to work just a little bit.
All manner of work.
Most of it.
All manner of work.
So the Most High had put wisdom and understanding into all manner of work. All manner of work. That's what the scripture said. So right here is showing you, the scripture tells us what type of people we are. History book shows you, proves to you what we did. A lot of people don't believe that the Bible is real. It's just a bunch of fairy tales. It might be a guideline to what you should do. How to be a good person or whatnot. And even if that is true, people ain't even following those guidelines. But I'm here to tell you that this is a true living document. It's a true living document, and it detailed the people, the children of Israel. Right now, we're talking about the children of Israel that just got out of slavery. Right back then, they just got out of slavery, out of Egypt, and we're reading this article how we just got out of slavery and the Americas, and the Most High put wisdom and understanding into doing all work. So we were just slaves when we were just reading here, and we were just slaves again when we're reading in this article. Both of them are saying how we're skilled workers. The Most High put that wisdom and understanding in us. That's what that was. Get me 1 Chronicles 28 and 11.
The book of 1 Chronicles, chapter 28, verse 11. Then David gave to Solomon his son the pattern of the ports, and of the houses thereof, and of the treasuries thereof, and of the upper chambers thereof, and of the inner pillars thereof, and of the place of the mercy seat, and the pattern of all that he had by the Spirit, of the courts of the house of the Lord, and of all the chambers round about, of the treasuries of the house of God, and of the treasuries of the dedicated things.
So right here, David is giving to his son, blueprints. He's telling his son the blueprints on how to build the temple for the Most High.
What?
There's another example of how Most High put wisdom and understanding to us. And this was so detailed that we had to actually go out and find stones that were perfectly cut and perfectly symmetrical to stack them and to build this temple. We couldn't take a hammer and a chisel and cut it and shape it to the way we thought would be beneficial. We couldn't do that. The Most High dictated us. We had to go out and find different stones that was just perfect and put them together. That's the type of work Israel is made of. That not only that, the Most High knows the type of people we are. So if I have a task and I know somebody, I'm not going to hire an apprentice, plumber to put in an elaborate swimming pool or jacuzzi at my house. I'm gonna get somebody who's been doing the work and who's capable of doing the work, who's been doing it for a long time, so that they won't mess up what I already have, and I wouldn't have to pay out the butt to have it fixed from what the last person did because they didn't know what they were doing. The Most High knows who we are, what we're capable of. And he put that task on us because he knew exactly how we would react to it. We built that temple perfectly to the standards that the Most High dictated to us. Just the way he passed it down to David, David passed it down to Solomon, and Solomon passed it down to his craftsmen. And everybody who was able and had the knowledge to do what the Most High had dictated, we actually did that. We went out and we found stones that were perfectly shaped, and we put them together and we built the temple. And then we found people who can decorate the temple in various ways. Have different different ornaments to decorate the temple. Just craftsmen. There's so much that Israel has to offer, and because of that, we were being killed over it. Because of that, we're being killed over it. If you could, give me Deuteronomy 28 and 30.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 30. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof.
So this is what the Most High, this is part of the curses that the Most High has given us if we did not obey the Most High. And since we did not obey the Most High, all of this has been happening to our brothers and sisters. We got wives and we could not enjoy our wife. Someone else came in and took our wife. This happened so much throughout slavery. They would just come into the field or get them out of the bed, get them up out of the bed that they're sleeping right next to you, and take your wife, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
We built their houses, we built their homes, and in this case, we built our homes, we built our houses, we built our schools, our churches, and they burned them down. We built our own community and they burned them down. We planted vineyards. We had businesses. And every time something like this happens, it said, they went out and robbed a lot of black people in this city. What did they rob them of? They not only the physical aspect of their robberies. They took our what little we had. They took our, anything that wasn't pinned down, anything that was shiny, anything that was worth of any type of value, including our women. They took that.
Right.
And what was left over, they burnt it. They burnt it to the ground. If they seen no value, if they couldn't take over what we had, they burned it down.
Right.
They absolutely killed it. And then they robbed us of a sense of stability, a sense of hope, a sense of since the North won the war and we're supposedly free, they took that that mentality. Hey, they lost and they have to they're subject to the rules of the North, even though this garrison, this army base was right there in town. Their general told them to stand by and stand down and stand by. They robbed us of that peace of mind. Give me Zephaniah chapter 1 and 13.
Zephaniah chapter 1 verse 13.
Yeah.
Okay. The book of Zephaniah chapter 1 verse 13. Therefore the goods shall become a booty, and their houses a desolation. So
this right here, our goods became booty. And what is booty? And it's like an old English word, which is spoil. Right. What spoil is basically if you're in war, or if like what they usually associate that with is pirates. When pirates come aboard a different ship, or they raid a village or something, everything that they take is booty. Everything that they take is spoil. Right. Read that part again one more time.
Therefore their goods shall become a booty, and their houses a desolation.
Our goods became spoil. Our goods became booty for the oppressors that were killing us. They took our things, and our houses became a desolation. They literally burned our houses down. We had nothing to show for our hard work, our dedication to building up something for us. When they said we're worthless and we're good for nothing, we're savages, they burned down our houses, burned down our schools so we can't learn. They burned down our churches so that we cannot worship a deity. They robbed us. They raped our women. And they had a force that was right there in town that could have stopped it, but did nothing.
Right.
And what was their punishment for it? There was no punishment. There was no punishment.
Right.
Not only that, the people that were killed and beaten and robbed, we were jailed as well. They threw a bunch of black men and women in jail because 2 men died. And they most likely, it doesn't say if they actually got the people that did the shooting, that actually committed that act. But they know that all those other people had nothing to do with it. Had nothing to do with it. And yet they were oppressed the same. They were beaten, they were robbed, they were raped. They were, their homes were destroyed. And that's because what the scripture says. Read that from the top one more time, Baqashyah.
God, therefore their goods shall become a booty, and their houses a desolation. They shall also build houses, but not inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards, but not drink the wine thereof.
And that was going back to what we read in Deuteronomy. This is the curse for not obeying the Most High. It is a curse for not doing exactly, not most, but exactly everything that He tells us what to do. If we do that, He will shield us from any of this stuff. We will be the head and not the tail. We wouldn't have to look down, face the earth as they come by. We would not have to put our heads in the barrels if we tell a joke about something or if we think of something funny. We would not have to live in fear if our oppressor just wakes up on the wrong side of the bed and beats us senseless.
Right.
And dares us to protect ourselves.
Right.
Why? Because if we dare protect ourselves, our whole town might go up in flames. Take me back to the article, Baqashyah.
Let's load it again. Some downtown businessmen participated in the mob because they resented the hordes of penniless freedmen on the streets.
They detested seeing black men walking the streets. They threw in penniless, but that had nothing to do with it. They just didn't want to see black men and women in their city roaming around free without a pass. Because back then, 1 year prior, a black man, woman, or child could not walk around freely. They needed a pass from their master saying that they're authorized to go from point A to point B. Now we're walking around free. They couldn't stand that. So they joined in. Keep going.
Other rioters wanted revenge for the Union occupation. The use of African American soldiers as patrolmen with power to order whites to move on was especially galling to many.
So at one point in time, like I said, we would have to hold our face to the ground. We couldn't talk, we couldn't look them in the eye. We couldn't say anything sharp, smart, or anything like that. Now we're telling them in uniform, move along. You can't be here. You gotta keep it moving. And they would have to do it. They said that they had power to tell them to move on. And that power was backed by the Union Army, which was a false sense of power because when it came time for us to really need them,
Right.
they left us high and dry. They were nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. And the very people that were there to protect us left us. Some of them joined in our destruction. So they were jealous. They were jealous, one, that they lost, and they hated the black man being able to tell them what to do, where to stand, when to move on, when they can go, when they can come. When they were doing that, for since they were born, that's all they knew. That's all they knew. And now they couldn't do it. Now they couldn't do it. Keep going.
God. Finally, the riots reflected the attitudes of most white citizens toward the former slaves, who were then free and soon demanding equal rights.
So this is not just a microcosm of things. This was a sentiment throughout the whole nation. This sentiment was, they hated us. They always have and they always will.
Right.
They always look at us, as low.
Right.
They always think of us as weak, feeble-minded, people.
Right.
And it's a sad thing that we help perpetrate that same mentality. Why? Because we got a lot of, especially now, we got a lot of gangsters out here. You know what I'm saying? They gangsters. They real hard. They talk real tough. they talk real tough, and especially to our people. We talk tough to our people. We talk tough to our women. But when when police come around,
Sky tie.
Yeah, we switch it up real quick. Them same gangsters, they're talking about, man, you come around, I'm gonna blow your face off. Talking all, you walking with your woman, talking all disrespectful to your woman right in front of you, all tough and everything. But when the man comes around, the boys in blue come around, we soft spoken, and the best way to see exactly what I'm talking about, watch any episode of the First 48. All them cats in there is gangster. You know what I'm saying? But when they're in the interrogating room, I'm like, no, sir, I don't understand why someone would put my name in this. I wasn't there. I was just hanging out with my boys over, and their speech pattern comes totally different. They put their white voice on when they're talking, when they're in the interrogation room. But when they're out in the street, it's all changed up. It's all different. But we perpetrate that same energy. If you if you supposed to be tough to your people, why you ain't tough to the people that's actually killing you? Right. Why you bullying your brother?
Right.
They in the same position as you. They the same position as you. They're being oppressed just like you. Why are you bullying your brother? Why are you bullying your sister? That's no bueno. That's no bueno. If you could, get me Deuteronomy 32 and 21, Baqashyah.
32 and
21.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 21. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not good.
It's like, read that one more time.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 21. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities.
So this is the Most High talking. This is the Most High talking. We moved him to jealousy. Why or how? It's because we put everything else that the Most High told us not to do. We put that in front of him. We chose to do. We chose to sleep with someone else's wife. We chose to sell drugs to our people. We chose to abort our babies. We chose that. The Most High told us not to do that. We chose going to church. We chose going to the Muslim mosque. That's what we chose. And that scripture says we have moved the Most High to jealousy. We have moved him to anger. Keep going.
And I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. And I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation.
With a foolish nation. He said, I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. And you would think because 2 people died and 2 people were killed, and they're boasting law and order. They're boasting civility. And what they do is go out and kill every black man or woman and child that they find, and rape women and rob women. That's not a people.
Right.
That is not a people. That is a beast.
Right.
Who would do something like that? When you're calling another people, savages, when you do things more savage that anybody can ever fathom, anybody can ever think of, right. You do that thing. Who puts people in the oven? Who does that? A people that's not a people. And the scripture says, I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation.
Right.
Come on, man.
That's right.
This is the Most High giving us warning. This is the Most High giving us warning. And unfortunately, we do not heed this warning because he's given us warning time after time after time after time. We've been in captivity in every nation under the sun. And we don't learn our lesson. Well, this is the last lesson we're gonna learn, because once Christ comes back, we will never be in captivity ever again.
Right.
Those are not my words. Those are the words of the Most High. If you can, get me Zechariah chapter 12, verse 3.
The book of Zechariah chapter 12, verse 3. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people.
The scripture says, in that day, he will make Jerusalem. He will make Israel a burdensome stone to who?
To all people.
To all people. We have become a burden to all people. Why? How? How we in this instance from this article that we're reading, this riots, we were outperforming everybody else. That raised tensions between our people.
Right.
We just got out of slavery. We're doing a better job than these immigrants. We fought in wars, and now we're given power, not only as a protective force, but as a diplomatic and a political force. We're given power, and because of that, we've become a burden to other people. Keep reading.
All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it.
So, read that part one more time.
All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. Now,
this is a nation of immigrants. You know what I'm saying? The very people that were pissed off at us the most were the Irish immigrants. They were from another nation. They came over here and mingled with the other Europeans that were here already, and they came together against us. Why? Because our light outshining. 1 year removed, not even a full year removed from slavery, and we have power. We have schools. We have property. We have things that we shouldn't technically have because we had just gotten out of slavery, and they thought we were nothing but cattle. They thought we were nothing but property, and they treated us as such. But the Most High, because we shined and we did not shine in the name of the Most High, he allowed them to cut us down. He allowed the other nations to gather against us. And because of that, we have been destroyed, and we will continue to be destroyed until we gather ourselves. Scripture says, gather yourselves together. Until we gather ourselves together, come back to the Most High. This sort of thing will happen time after time after time again. And with that, I'm gonna end the class. I'm gonna call Barack to read the security announcements.
Security announcements. We at I.S.U.P.K out of 1 West 125th Street out of Harlem, New York, under command of Jenny YAHANNA. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They're to be saluted only. They're here to share themselves in the word. After 6 months, if a brother or a sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or a sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After the 6 month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find this in the book of Numbers, chapter 18, verse 21, and Malachi, chapter 3, verse 8 through 10. Means 10th in Hebrew, and it's pronounced ma'asherah. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, you get to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming holy convocation is the Feast of Dedication, which will be on December 9th of 2020. This year, it will be held at Washington, D.C.'s school. You can find the address by contacting Washington, D.C.'s page, Facebook, on YouTube. The Feast of Dedication, which is a Hanukkah, will be held December 9th at the Washington, D.C. school for this zone as well. Tonight is Monday night. Commander Junior Hannas, you want to tune in to the Black Watch radio show. You want to tune in, like, share, subscribe. All of the content today with Commander Junior Hanna regarding the 51st annual Passover. Make sure you stay in close contact with your camp leader on any questions or concerns regarding the upcoming 51st annual Passover. Anything you want to add on that?
Nah, which one?
Solid. If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, you should start wearing all black, which includes black boots, black shirt, black pants, black headband, or scarf. And with that, I say Amaja. This needs to stand.